Welcome everyone to this, grand episode, if I can say, which is presented on Omkara Pathshala. This is one interview which I personally have been waiting for. Let me introduce the man himself. If I can say, he's Yaron ka Yar, full Dildar. He's also known as a perfectionist when it comes to picking stocks, as he's a voracious reader of financial statements. And I'll also say, that he's a gutsy fund manager, who created Abakkus single-handedly 3 years back and now manages nearly 9,000 crores of AUM. The best thing I love about you, sir, is that you have focus, and the focus is always on numbers. You have guts to walk alone, and I call you a data man with a calm head. Thank you, sir, Sunil sir, for joining, and thank you for always guiding me. I personally try to imitate, your principles in terms of value investing, I can say, or investing principles, I can say. You have really, shown me a lot of ways and how to progress at my, investment philosophy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Varinder, for such great words. It makes me happy on a Saturday. But congratulations to you and your team at Omkara Capital for having created what you have created, again, in such a short period of time. Really admirable.
Thank you, sir.
And happy to be here.
Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you so much. आपने मार्गदर्शन दिखाया, sir. You are a mentor to me, and not only for last 1 year, I think last 10-15 years you have been guiding. आप में सबसे अच्छा चीज क्या है, सर, कि आपको देना आता है. Which is a rare quality in a lot of people, if I can say that. So sir, मेरे आज का इंटरव्यू कैसे डिवाइड किया है, आपको मालूम है, हम लोग जब कन्वर्सेशन करते हैं फुल दिल से करते हैं. आपको जिस तरीके से बोले, जैसे मन किए बोलिए. I don't want to start on the market क्या लग रहा है, global क्या लग रहा है, because there are many more things from a person like you, your stature, to learn from. पहले ये बताइए सर कि सुनील सिंघानिया कौन है. आप सब जानते हैं कि चलो सब देखते हैं कि सुनील के पास कौन से स्टॉक्स हैं, हम हर टीवी चैनल पे देखते हैं कि अबैकस के पास वो स्टॉक है तो अच्छा ही होगा. But how did you come to stock markets? What is your background, sir?
No, so Varinder, I think as all of us over the last 20-30 years have grown, I also come from a very modest middle class family. My father worked with the Birla company for 50 years, first and last job. And I also started, as a middle class person aspiring to do my bit to lead a comfortable life. I'm born and brought up in Bombay. So though being a Marwadi, I have always been in Bombay, and had the fortune of studying in a good convent school, and then joining a good commerce college in Mumbai, NM. And as was the case with all of us in that 80s kind of era, either you become a doctor or an engineer by taking science, or you become a chartered accountant by taking commerce. And I had an elder sister. We have 5 brother sisters, but the sister who was just eldest to me, I am the youngest, was a science student, and I didn't like, cutting cockroaches and eating earthworms and all. So the choice available was go to commerce. And once you go to commerce, there was nothing else but CA to do. And that's how I, got enrolled in CA, and I was a good student. So became a CA very early in my life. I was only 20.
Wow. आपके दोस्त बताते हैं सर मुझे कि आप पहले से ही पढ़ाकू थे. Because you were one of the brightest students, during that time.
पता नहीं होता, but yes, I think God was kind, and I was a good student. So got an All India rank. And even during my college time, I was always enamored by balance sheets. So my father had small shares of few companies, and अभी physical balance sheet आती थी घर में. तो normally अगर आपने देखा होगा balance sheets ना सीधे रद्दी के डब्बे में जाती हैं.
सही है.
अभी तो आती नहीं है physical. During that time, we used to have physical balance sheets, and I used to read them, and I think that is how I started developing an interest.
So that is age of 20, you're saying? because आप 20 साल के थे तब से.
हाँ, it was like around I would say late 80s, and then we had this. So I started practicing as a chartered accountant as a young chartered accountant. But that time the first major bull run happened in the early 90s. Obviously, Arshad Mehta was a god figure at that point of time before his fall. But it did bring about a lot of interesting aspects about equity markets. So you saw markets go up, you saw markets going down. And then luckily, it also coincided with the liberalization of the Indian economy. So early 90s is when the Manmohan Singh era and PV Narasimha Rao era started, and foreign investors started investing in India, and mutual funds started coming to India. And suddenly, it was a different kind of stock market which started getting born.
Yes, yes.
And NSE started, and it was I would say a little bit of interest in equity markets and a little bit of luck that when NSE started, opportunities did open up for a lot of professionals who were interested in equity markets. Before that, it was like a closed club. It was more satta trading, whatever. And I think I was lucky, as I said, to join equity markets full time. And from there, things just kept on happening.
But sir, आपको पता है कि मेरे ख्याल में बहुत लोग जानते हैं कि रिलायंस के टाइम से. So if you can help us to understand कि आप जब CA कर रहे थे, CA से लेके रिलायंस की जर्नी क्या थी?
So मैंने जैसे कहा, I was a chartered accountant. My uncle Chacha was a chartered accountant, so I did my articles there, and I joined him in practice. And as a small size chartered accountant firm, we're doing everything, so account writing and sales tax, income tax, company law. And I think that was good. 3 years of articleship and then 5-6 years of practice. I think those 8-9 years were good grinding.
Wow.
Because एक तो practical थोड़ा experience होता है. See, when you do articleship, you are actually going, meeting companies, doing their accounts, doing their balance sheets, few of our investors were also stockbrokers, and I used to visit the Bombay Stock Exchange, and it was such an awe feeling, just being in that building at that point of time. But the basics of accounts, the basics of numbers is what got really, I would say reinforced during that period. And practice helped me because, you were also dealing now with the income tax laws and sales tax laws. And that time it was excise. We didn't have the GST at that point of time. So direct, indirect taxes, and I think it was a great learning because you knew which companies would do well and what factors you have to basically look at to figure out whether the company's numbers are genuine, not genuine, companies doing well or not well. I've always, as I said, been in Bombay, and I've always been blessed to have great friends around me, and that continues even now. And I would say the biggest wealth is the huge number of friends and well-wishers which we all have. Money is transient, but this is really the biggest wealth. And I think at that point of time, I had a friend, whose in-laws were looking at taking a membership in NSC, and considered to be a very bright student. They said that you should appear for the exams for us, and that is how my transition into NSC actually happened. So I then decided to join them as a working partner. Got good experience of working as a broker on the online segment, which is a very new segment. So being young, being very enthusiastic, nothing to lose, I think that stint was great. And I think from there on, I realized that it is one thing to be a broker and another thing to do research and to start sort of thinking like an institution. And in I think 97, I joined a good small sized but very, I would say, a forward-looking company run by Pashupati Advani. So I was with him for 6 years. I was a director, and he gave me the full freedom to run the business. We started coming out with research. We were dealing with large global institutions at that point of time, and there were not too many brokers in India who were doing that. I was dealing with mutual funds, which were growing, not to the same extent as now, but they were decent size from that era's perspective. And I think that actually strengthened my whole process as far as research, putting things what I think on paper, and analyzing and also making mistakes and learning from them. But Varinder, what happened was 99 to 2001 was a great period where companies and dot-com boom and obviously bust. But 2001 to 2003 was a very difficult period. No one was looking at equity markets. I would say that in that period, 90% of the people who were in equity markets left the equity markets.
Wow.
Because it was such a difficult period. Global recession in India, nothing was happening. And at that point of time, there were stocks which were available at 2p, 3p, 10% of replacement value. And I used to churn research reports after research reports because there were so many companies which were a screaming buy, and there was no one who was willing to buy them. तो तब ऐसा लगा यार ये है ना दूसरों को बताना कि कौन सा शेयर खरीदना सबसे बकवास चीज है, खुद ही खरीदना है. So वो बेसिकली एक जुनून आ गया कि now I have to move to the buy side. And luckily because I was sort of in touch with most mutual funds at that point of time, there were quite a few who were willing to take me in their company. But obviously, Reliance was a name even at that point of time. And though the fund was very small, I think the people I met before I joined Reliance, Amitabh Jhunjhunwala, Madhu, obviously we worked so much together. And despite the fact that Reliance was the smallest mutual fund, total assets were maybe 50, 70 crores in equity, I decided to join Reliance. And I think the thing is, we had a great team. We had a huge tailwind because the world did very well. Indian equities did very well. And obviously our fund did very well. And I would say that that was one of the most enriching, 15, 16 years, not in terms of personal or fund success, but in sense of really maturing as I would say, all-round investment professional and an investor.
Wow, what a story, sir. So, if I can understand and if I can take one big thing away from this story is, sir, कि सुनील सर जैसे आदमी को भी मेरे ख्याल में 10-15 साल लगे, to grind, to learn the entire process. Of course, you are learning even today, which I always hear from you. But क्योंकि आजकल तो मैं देखता ना सर कि every single हर कोई इन्वेस्टर बन जाता है, वो जिसके पास अकाउंट है, डीमैट अकाउंट है, वो इन्वेस्टर भी बन जाता है, उसको सब आ जाता है. So this process, this beautiful stock market needs a rigorous training, right? What everyone should go for.
So see, Varinder, actually what happens now, sometimes bull markets make you believe that you know it all. So the last 2-3 साल में ना,
मैं शिवाजी
last 2-3 साल में मैं ट्विटर खोलता हूँ ना, मुझे लगता है इंडिया में कम से कम 1 लाख ऐसे इन्वेस्टर है जो वॉरेन बुफे को भी बीट कर सकते हैं. Every day they post, my returns are 90%, my returns are 70%. और मैं मेरी टीम को बोलता हूँ यार मैं कुछ लफड़ा दिखता है. So bull market will obviously give you that feeling. It is phases which make you really, really mature. And those phases will come. I think last 3-4 months have not been that easy, but it's been okay. You have not lost money, you have not made money. It's when you start losing money, that is when you have to sort of think of what went wrong or what you could have done better. And I think if you just keep on introspecting that, every day you will become a better investor. The day you start to feel कि मुझे सब आता है और मेरे से बड़ा शाना कोई नहीं है, आप समझ लो कि गए.
सच्ची बोले.
I was a couple of days back in a Sangeet in another town, and I don't remember who said it, but बहुत अच्छा बोला चढ़ते वक्त है ना, पहाड़ चढ़ते वक्त हमको झुकना पड़ता है. So when you are on an when you are on a rise up, you can only rise up when you are bent, when you start bending. The moment you reach up and you start to stop bending, the only way to stop bending is to come down.
सही, बिल्कुल सही, बिल्कुल ही सही.
And I think investment is like that. You have to constantly figure out, what can go wrong, what has gone wrong. And the last few years have been more difficult because investing itself is evolving. और कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, आपको लगता है कि यार ये मेरा इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टाइल में प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है. There was a phase in the last 4-5 years where the deepest of deepest value stocks did nothing. And stocks which were like crazily expensive, they just kept on going up.
I'll come to that, sir. I remember.
अभी क्या बार-बार आप अगर आप इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टाइल चेंज करो तो आपको खुद पे ही कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है. सो आई थिंक ओवर द लास्ट 15-20 इयर्स बहुत लर्निंग हुई है, लेकिन जैसे आपने कहा ना, आगे भी हम सीखते रहेंगे.
सही.
और वो सीखते रहना भी चाहिए.
सर मुझे एक चीज बताओ सर, मैं दिल से पूछ रहा हूँ कि हमारे भारत में लास्ट 30 साल से बहुत सीएस बने. आज भी मैं सीएस इतने देखता हूँ. वॉरेन बफेट सब पढ़ते हैं, चार्ली मंगर सब पढ़ते हैं, और आपके साथ जिन लोगों ने मेरे ख्याल में शुरू किया हो कारवा, आई एम श्योर देयर विल बी नंबर ऑफ पीपल हु स्टार्टेड सीए, स्टॉक मार्केट. होशियार भी है, समझदार भी है, पैसा भी है. बट ऐसा क्या सुनील सिंघानिया में अलग है जो आप बन सके आज यहाँ तक? लाइक व्हाट इज द स्पेशल क्वालिटी व्हाट यू हैव, जो आपको लगा कि शायद मैंने ये सही किया और यहाँ मैंने ये चीज नहीं किया, इसलिए भगवान जी का कृपा रही?
वन इज, जैसे आपने कहा लास्ट में, भगवान की कृपा है. दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बड़ों का आशीर्वाद है. I would say that it's a big factor. We were lucky. I was lucky to get the right opportunity at the right time. So luck definitely plays a big factor. But at the same time, what you do with those opportunities is also very important. So one thing is honesty, dedication, integrity, hard work, and never walking over someone else for success. वो किसी दूसरे को गिरा के हमको आगे नहीं बढ़ना, सबको आगे लेके चलना. I think that is very important virtue, and particularly in equity markets. And I would say that every profession is becoming very competitive. Even in equity markets, things are very competitive. I always remember this dialogue from page, I think, 3 Idiots. दोस्त फेल होता है तो बहुत दुख होता है, वो फर्स्ट आता तो ज्यादा दुख होता है. हमारे प्रोफेशन में वो बहुत है. खुद की वेल्थ से ज्यादा लोग दूसरे की वेल्थ गिनते हैं और उसमें है ना मिस्टेक कर देते हैं. Then you overtrade, you try and do shortcuts and so on and so forth. So I think luck plays a big role, but then teamwork, hard work, sticking to your basic principles, not doing shortcuts, particularly in equity markets, not over trying to be a chicken, getting into a leverage kind of a situation. All that help. But obviously, one good thing is that at least I have understood where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are.
Exactly.
So जहाँ weakness है, पता है कि भाई हमारे बस की बात नहीं है, उसमें कितना भी बड़ा opportunity हो, because you don't understand, just stay away from it. I think that has helped, and at least ensuring that we don't make big losses anyway.
But sir, honestly, sir, मेरे लिए one thing which stands apart, when we talk to you every time is that you have your principles set in terms of data. कुछ भी होता है, एक ही चीज, नंबर क्या है. So I don't know, a lot of people know or not. So Abakkus, the name itself comes from Abakkus, right? A-B-A-C-U-S, which is the basics. So which actually you follow every time, whenever you invest.
Our tagline is believe in the basics.
Imagine. Sir, आपको जब भी मिलता हो हमेशा खुश रहते हो, आप क्रिकेट खेलते हो, दोस्तों के साथ मस्ती बहुत करते हो, आपको कभी स्ट्रेस नहीं होता? जब स्ट्रेस होता है तो उसको कैसे डील करते हो? एक होता है ना कि यार अभी ये यूएस में क्या हो जाएगा, रशिया यूक्रेन का क्या हो जाएगा, आप 9-10 हजार लोगों का संभालते हो, लोग आपको फोन करके कोई कभी कुछ बोल देगा. सो पर्सन लाइक यू आल्सो मस्ट गो थ्रू फेजेस, राइट?
सी, स्ट्रेस कोई लेता नहीं है या कोई उसको रोकता नहीं है, वो अपने आप आता है. तो आप बोलोगे मैं स्ट्रेस नहीं लूंगा तो स्ट्रेस नहीं आएगा, वैसा हो नहीं सकता. I think stress, it's a human trait. Anger, stress, happiness, this does not, you don't have to take it, they come automatically. At the same time, there are a few things which you have realized over a period of time. Now, पहले मेरा एक कलीग था, वो रात को है ना डाउ 2 बजे 3 बजे तक देखता था और हमको सबको मैसेज भेजता था. फिर एक दिन हम सब बैठे थे, बोले यार डाउ का लेवल 3 बजे देखो या 6 बजे देखो, अपना मार्केट तो 9:15 को ही खुलने वाला है. तो whether you see it at 3 o'clock in the night or 9 o'clock in the morning, it's the same thing.
सही.
I think some things, over a period of time, as time goes, you become more matured, you mellow down a little bit. You have understood that worry about things which are in your hand. Worrying about things which are not in your hand is like a waste of time, waste of effort, and you will unnecessarily spoil your own health. In equity markets, for example, I think worry about your own analysis. So if you feel that this company can grow 100% in 4 years for this reasons, that analysis is in your hand.
सही.
Whether Putin attacks Ukraine or not, you should be aware. And you should have a little bit of understanding that what will happen if this event happens or if this event does not happen. But that event is not in your hand. अभी उसके लिए अगर market रोज 200 पॉइंट बढ़ता है घटता है, that is something which is not in our hands. So you can't say that आज है ना 200 पॉइंट घटने वाला है तो मैं सुबह 10% कैश क्रिएट कर लूं और कल 200 पॉइंट बढ़ने वाला है तो मैं 10%, वो हो ही नहीं सकता.
सही है.
So I think this lower stress comes from experience. No one wants to take stress, वो अपने आप होता है. And particularly when you are dealing with public money, that stress level is much higher. तो है ना वरिंदर, जब मैं प्रैक्टिस करता था ना, मेरी इनकम टैक्स की रिटर्न हरदम लेट जाती. बिकॉज क्लाइंट तो मुझे पैसा देता था, तो उनकी तो रिटर्न मैं अफोर्ड ही नहीं कर सकता हूँ लेट भरने में. आई वॉज आंसरेबल टू देम, आई वॉज नॉट आंसरेबल टू माई सेल्फ.
सही है.
वैसे ही इन इक्विटी इन्वेस्टिंग में आई एम डीलिंग विद पब्लिक मनी. दे हैव रिपोज्ड देयर ट्रस्ट ऑन अबैकस, ऑन सुनील सिंघानिया. आई कैन नॉट कम ट्रू टू देयर ट्रस्ट एंड कॉन्फिडेंस.
सही है.
And therefore, you have to be very clear that you do your best in terms of managing their money. But at the same time, 20-25 years of managing equity, you have known that you will try to be the best consistently. You will not be number one always. So हर इनिंग में तो विराट कोहली आके सेंचुरी नहीं मारेगा, and so on and so forth. And the same thing goes for all fund managers. Everyone has cycles. How you manage those cycles is very important to ensure that over a period of time you are doing better as professional. I think in equity also you have events, ये 4-5-6 events हैं. वो event के हिसाब से you have to basically judge yourself, have your own study, have your own viewpoint, and then manage your portfolio in a certain manner. अभी लोग सब बोल रहे हैं कि oil 100 हो जाएगा, 120 हो जाएगा, 130 हो जाएगा. हमारा व्यू है कि oil $60 हो जाएगा. Now that is not 100% given. But at least when you are doing your equity investing, you will have your view somewhere ingrained. True. At the same time, because you have a diversified portfolio, आप ऐसा नहीं हो कि सब oil company को short कर दो और सब oil users को ले लो. You will still balance it, but with a little bit of tilt. So while managing everything, you have to have your own view. And I think once you have that clarity, you can be calm.
Agree. I can tell you, sir, कि आपको स्ट्रेस रशिया यूक्रेन से नहीं आता, आपको सिर्फ बॉम्बे ट्रैफिक से आता है. That's the thing which gives you stress.
वो भी आजकल थोड़ा कम हो गया, क्योंकि मैं क्या करता हूँ आजकल है ना, गाड़ी में है ना कोई नेटफ्लिक्स या कुछ देखते रहता हूँ. पता ही नहीं चलता घर कब आ गया.
Sir, is there anyone who you give credit for what you have done in your life? Like एक दो ऐसे लोग हों जो आपको लगता है कि यार इनके कारण मैं यहाँ पहुंचा?
See, Varinder, I think, as I said, I've been blessed with so many friends, a great family, very, very. घर में शांति होना बहुत जरूरी है लाइफ में आगे बढ़ने के लिए. And I think we are blessed to have a great, immediate family, a superb, helpful, extended family, and friends are also like family. आज सोते वक्त ये comfort है कि कल को कुछ भी 19-20 हो गया, so there will be more than enough people to take care of everything.
100%.
I think that is what gives a lot of strength and confidence. So, public life है हमारी, तो सबको सब कुछ पता है. So it will be unfair to name any few individuals. But every day there is blessings of so many people and good wishes of so many people that you feel good. Even when I started on my own, क्या होता है ना, आप बड़ी कंपनी के कुर्सी पे हो तो आपको बहुत लोग बहुत कुछ बोलते हैं, बट वो कुर्सी छूटने के बाद में कौन रहेगा कौन नहीं रहेगा पता नहीं होता. बट आई कैन टेल यू विद अ लॉट ऑफ pride and gratitude that even when I started Abakkus, I think almost all of them were there to support in various ways.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing. क्योंकि Reliance से जब आप आए थे मेरे ख्याल में the assets under management I think grew from what 40-50 crores to.
So it was a team effort. I think we grew to almost 3 lakh crores, but it was a team effort. But as I said, my office at Abakkus to start with, the full office was maybe smaller than my cabin at Reliance, but
Wow. So when you talk about family, sir, my last question on your personal journey in life, what is one lesson you give your kids?
So obviously I have a wife, very loving. I have 2 kids. Son is Ujjwal. He's a techie. Did his undergrad, postgrad from US.
And he's a better investor than you because he makes money.
I don't know about that. He doesn't share that with me. So he's working right now with Amazon Web Services. And I have a daughter who is still studying, Khushi. And obviously, with Ujjwal, I've spent a lot of time before he went abroad to study. And Khushi, because she's studying in India, I spent more time. I think they're both very different. But the one thing which I always tell them is one is pursue what interests you. So logically, डॉक्टर का बेटा डॉक्टर होता है और लॉयर का बेटा लॉयर होता है, बट हमारा बेटा को तो इन्वेस्टमेंट से दूर है बहुत, वो टेक्नोलॉजी में है. He's a programmer, full stack programmer with Amazon. He does invest his own money, a little bit he is making right now. But I've told them to pursue what interests them. Because see, ultimately, after you grow up, you don't want to rule that मुझे तो ये करना था, लेकिन मुझे मौका नहीं.
सही है.
At the same time, you have to guide them. Because what you have gained in terms of experience by working for the last 25-30 years, they should also benefit out of it. So that is one thing. The second thing is obviously commitment. So whatever you do with a lot of commitment. Don't do half-hearted. And third is don't forget your values. So this मैं हरदम बोलता हूँ ना, बस हम शॉपिंग करने जाते हैं ना, शर्ट अच्छा है कि नहीं पहले टैग देख के हम डिसाइड करते हैं.
100%.
पहले बोलते नहीं अच्छा है कि नहीं है, पहले टैग देखते हैं, टैग पसंद आता तो बोलते हैं अच्छा है बस. That helps in equity also. तो इक्विटी में पहले टैग देखते हैं, पहले प्राइस और उसके वैल्यूएशन देखते हैं, फिर बताते हैं कि अच्छा है कि नहीं. I think that values is very important, because that values will ensure that you are a good human being, you have a lot of friends. And if you are there, then you will do well in life.
Sir, आपको नहीं पता, आपने आधे घंटे में हमें इतना कुछ सिखा दिया है, because these are the basic principles लाइफ के. और अगर धीरे धीरे इनको फॉलो करते रहे सर, आपके 1% तो हम बन जाएंगे, जिसमें हम बहुत खुश होंगे. बट थैंक यू सो मच, आपने जो इतने अच्छी तरह से पर्सनल लर्निंग्स के बारे में, लाइफ के बारे में हमें बताया, सब कुछ बताया. नाउ आई जंप टू द इन्वेस्टमेंट पार्ट और इन्वेस्टमेंट जर्नी ऑफ योर सर. सर ये बताइए, हाउ हैज द इक्विटी मार्केट्स चेंज्ड ओवर द लास्ट 20-25 इयर्स? जैसे आपने बोला कि एक क्लोज ग्रुप होता था पहले, आपके लिए कितना बदल गया, आपके लिए कितना चैलेंजिंग होता है? आपको क्या लगता है यार कि पहले ऐसा था, अभी ऐसा है?
So I think see, things have become very transparent. So right from your open outcry days, where execution itself was so tough, to complete online execution and very efficient execution. So to buy even 20 crores worth of shares in the old days would have cost you 10-15% impact cost. Now liquid stocks you can buy in a difference of 10-20 paisa. Second is transparency in information availability. I think the reason why there are now more successful investors than earlier is this, because information is available to everyone at the same time. आप में पैशन होना चाहिए काम करने का. Information तो है available. Earlier, even to get balance sheets, balance sheet, unless you are a shareholder, आपके पास आती नहीं थी. It used to get filed with stock exchanges. To get a copy of the balance sheet, you had to write a letter to the stock exchange. Then after 1 week, they used to call you. You had to pay some money for photocopying, and then they used to photocopy and give it to you. तब तक तो दूसरी बैलेंस शीट का टाइम हो जाता. Earnings were declared once in 6 months. That also, very opaque. Company meetings were not possible. Factory visits were the exclusive preview of a handful of very influential investors. So हमारा तो number आ ही नहीं सकता था बहुत छोटे investor. I think that has gradually changed. And what has also changed is the presence of institutional, formal, regulated investors in a much, much bigger way. पहले UTI था, then you had small mutual funds which came up in 90s. Now you have mutual funds which are like 20 lakh crores in size as far as equity is concerned. Obviously, insurance companies other than LIC. Then you have a whole host of PMS and AIFs like ourselves. And then you also have large family offices, family offices who have anywhere between $50 million to $5 billion present in India. And there are a lot of family offices which have like $1 billion, $2 billion. So it's become more formal, more organized, more transparent. Which is good, but which is also leading to more competition. So for example, like when I joined Reliance, I think there were hardly anyone who used to read even balance sheets. It was so funny. And therefore you had this huge advantage over all the others because, you were doing that, you were miles ahead of others. So, obviously now you have to do something else to be ahead of it. I think then you have sectors which keep on changing. There are now companies which are in existence जो तभी हम सोच भी नहीं सकते थे कंपनियां होंगी. पहले तो पुरानी ब्लू चिप आपने ले ली तो वही रहेगी. आजकल अभी कोई 10-20 साल का किसका लाइफ बहुत कम कंपनियों का होता है in terms of being a blue chip as far as investors concerned. So I think that has also changed. So some things have become very competitive, but for good. Lot of transparency has come. Regulators are much more up there. All this concept of front running and all is slowly going away. So there is level playing field, and I would say that things are only getting better. The other thing is with this advent of internet, with this advent of digital world, what is happening in the world is also known to you instantly. True. Earlier that was not possible, and I think we are getting more integrated because of that. So I think if you are an avid traveler and if you are a person who has been there in terms of tracking them, again, that has been an advantage. So because of my CFA Connect, I was fortunate to have traveled a lot, to have met a lot of people. I was also looking at the international business when I was in Reliance Mutual Fund. So I think that has also been of an advantage. And now you can, sitting in your home, track everything, read everything. You have Wall Street Journal available to you. पहले FTM सब्सक्राइब करते थे ना 2 दिन बाद आता था इंडिया. तो ट्यूसडे को हम सैटरडे का पेपर पढ़ते थे, थर्सडे को हम ट्यूसडे का पेपर पढ़ते थे. So I think things are definitely much better.
Very good. Sir, what is one word to describe your investment style?
I would say that generating long-term return is the goal, but investment style. So, we call ourselves opportunistic investors. And I would say that because, growth at reasonable valuation, value-based investing, I think these are all good words, but ultimately what we have realized is that there has to be a margin of safety. At the same time, unless the company has growth, you will not make money. So just because a company is at 5p, you should buy it, you will get frustrated.
So, yeah.
If it's a 5p company, but which can double profits in 5 years, it's a phenomenal combination, obviously, अब तो नहीं मिलेगी 5p में, 2020 में मिल रही थी. But what I'm saying is that we have to be adapt at looking at what is working, what is not working, what is going to work, what is not going to work. But the basic principles have to be the same. What we are paying today has to be justified by way of future profitability. It has to be a profit-making company, and profits have to be growing.
With time, has your investment style changed, sir? Like in the last 20-25 years? Okay,
maturity तो आई है अभी, वरिंदर. अभी काफी sectors ऐसे हैं ना जो हमको पता है that they are going to be deep cyclicals. So to get very enthusiastic in the peak of a cycle that this company is at 5p, 6p is disastrous. Because the P will expand, not because the price has expanded, because the profits fall. So, that maturity of losing money in bad cycles has definitely been something which has been helpful. And the other thing is the advent of a lot of new businesses.
True.
So earlier, for example, even brands. Earlier, because of very, very limited companies being able to dictate terms as far as, even having their products being displayed in shops, prevented even upcoming brands to do anything. Now with this multiple e-commerce platforms, online, B2C models, and a lot of other things, you have so many brands which are springing up. And if you see a lot of private equity interest is in this domestic or Indian focused brands. So that has changed. New age businesses which are technology driven. I think that is great opportunity going forward. The only problem is the valuation, but you never know, you might in a year or two get these businesses also at very decent valuation. But these are businesses which you cannot ignore. So I think those things have, I would say, changed. And also, as a country, we are becoming younger and we are becoming more affluent. So earlier, which would have taken years, some of the sectors, products, theme might take only a few years.
Yes.
So that the whole concept of growth, in which sectors growth can come and in which sectors growth can be significantly higher, I think that has all changed. And that is, I would say, the fun about being in equity markets, that every day is a new learning as long as you are willing to learn.
What is your biggest source of learning, sir? मतलब time तो ठीक है, time तो सबको सिखाता है, but you are a voracious reader, मतलब आप international newspaper पढ़ते हो, आप annual reports पढ़ते हो, but what is your source of learning?
So source of learning obviously is, you can read books. Obviously, I used to read much more than what I do now. Most of my reading used to be while traveling, और अभी 2 साल से तो long distance travel ज़्यादा हुआ नहीं है, तो पीछे बहुत सारी books पढ़ी है, काफी उसमें से पढ़नी बाकी है. But even reading, I would say, newspapers, magazines, and you don't have to read word to word, but even if you glance through, international magazines, even some domestic magazines and all, very good. I learn a lot from, other large portfolio managers, monthly or whatever blogs and all they write, And we have so many of some really good writers, Howard Marks. You have GMO, Jeremy Grantham writes very well. Chris Woods writes a lot, and some of them is really, really good. And then even domestically, you have very, very smart and intelligent peer group colleagues who put their thoughts to paper in a very transparent manner. जैसा आपने कहा बताया, बांटने से ही ज़्यादा और बढ़ता है. And I think we are blessed that we have so many very successful portfolio managers and investors who are willing to share their views. So I think that is also a good source.
Yes.
I normally like autobiographies.
Okay.
And I would recommend all the young, particularly the young budding investors. Autobiography Varinder कौन लिखता है? एक तो जो बहुत successful, उन्हीं की पढ़ेंगे ना. Unsuccessful लोगों की तो कोई पढ़ेगा नहीं. दूसरा, after they have achieved everything, वो लिखते हैं. ये 500 रुपए में किसी सक्सेसफुल आदमी का हमको 25 साल का एक्सपीरियंस मिलता है. उससे ज्यादा अच्छा कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता.
सही है, सही है, सही है, सही है. Sir, how do you identify stock picks? मतलब you are known as the mid cap, a stock picker. आपका प्रोसेस क्या होता है? मतलब आज अगर मार्केट सपोज पर गिरा हुआ है, तो आप जाके क्या स्क्रीन्स रन करते हो? एक होता है ना कि हाउ यू आइडेंटिफाई न्यू आइडियाज. पुराने तो चलो पड़े हैं, उसमें से चलो ढूंढ लिए, बट नए आइडियाज कैसे आप आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, आप या आपकी टीम?
So Varinder, there is no frankly formula. I think the only formula is that you have to be aware of as much as you can. So for example, quarterly results. Go through the quarterly results as much as you can. I'm not very happy with the new format of reporting quarterly results. और पेपर में खाली 2 ही लाइन आते हैं, रेवेन्यू, पीबीटी, पैट, बाकी कुछ आता ही नहीं. तो पता ही नहीं चलता है कि वो पैट कैसे आया और पीबीटी कैसे आया, उसमें कुछ अदर इनकम था, कुछ कौन सा एक्सपेंस ऊपर गया, कौन सा एक्सपेंस नीचे गया. तो आई लाइक टू रीड डिटेल्ड क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट्स. अनफॉर्चुनेटली एक्सपेक्टेशंस हमारी ज्यादा होती है और पूरी टीम वो एक्सपेक्टेशंस पे खरी नहीं उतर पाती है. So it's very difficult working with people like me, but ठीक है. So that is, I think one source. The second is obviously balance sheets. Again, I would have loved to read balance sheets a little earlier. So I still read 1200, 1300 balance sheets, but थोड़ा time लग जाता है after the release of the balance sheet.
1200, 1300 a year.
A year. But अभी time नहीं लगता because you know in which balance sheet what to look at. क्योंकि आप इतने साल से कर रहे हो, तो आपको मोटा मोटी हर कंपनी में पता है कि क्या मुझे देखना. The other thing, as you rightly said, is sometimes you run screeners. For example, 2-3 साल पहले हमने screener run किया था. Textile companies were available at less than 1 time cash flow. हमने ज्यादा टेक्सटाइल कंपनी ली नहीं because they are deep cyclicals. But I'm just giving you a perspective कि भाई 1 साल के कैश फ्लो में पूरी कंपनी मिल. तो आप ये सोचो ना, मैं हरदम सबको बोलता हूँ बॉस, if this company were to be available to you 100%, will you buy that company? 100%. If yes, then the stock is good. तो अगर आपने कोई कंपनी 100 करोड़ में खरीदी और साल का आपको 100 करोड़ कैश दे रही है, तो आप कंपनी पूरी की पूरी कंपनी खरीदोगे कि नहीं? मैं तो बिजनेसमैन बन जाऊंगा.
100%.
So if yes, then you should buy the stock. So I think sometimes running screeners also help. But it's a mix of, I would say, a history, company meetings, reading publicly available information. We are blessed with so many really good analysts on the sell side who keep on highlighting you. But I would say visiting companies is very important rather than the company visiting you. I think that we have missed last 2 years. क्या होता है ना, जब कंपनी आपको मिलने आती है ना, तो उनका प्रेजेंटेशन बना हुआ है, वो फ्लाइट में सोच के आए हैं कि इसको कैसे हम बेवकूफ बना सकते हैं. Not always, but कैसे इसको प्रेजेंट करें. And when you go to visit the company, they are not there with a proper presentation because उनको देना नहीं है ना, आप मिलने जा रहे हो. वहाँ फैक्ट्री में जाते हो, apart from the CEO, CFO, you meet workers, you see their washrooms, you see whether trucks are coming in, going out. हर फैक्ट्री में एक बोर्ड होता है, कितना प्रोडक्शन हुआ, कितना रॉ मटेरियल आया, कितना नहीं आया. So if you have your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut, when you go to factory visits, it helps you a lot.
Very true. But meeting management is a plus or a negative, sir? But सबका किसी का view
बहुत बार पॉजिटिव होता है, कभी-कभी नेगेटिव होता है. You know, unfortunately, there are some people, उनको आदत होती है रोने की. ऐसे बहुत है, मेरे दोस्त भी हैं. एकदम अच्छा कर रहे होंगे, नई गाड़ी खरीद के लाए होंगे, पूछेंगे क्या हो रहा है, अरे मर गए, धंधा बहुत खराब है, बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, और the business would be rocking. So you get blinded and you get little bit scared. So ऐसे इंडिया में भी है. And we missed one. I was so convinced about that IT services company. It was so cheap, phenomenal record of great minority shareholders, multiple buybacks, dividends, good management. But हमने बात की कंपनी से और वो पता नहीं उस दिन मूड खराब होगा वो CFO का, वो ऐसा हमको डरा दिया, and the stock became like 4x in 1 year. So कभी-कभी नुकसान हो जाता है, but by and large, you are able to judge the passion of the promoter. When you visit, you can see the activity. And I'm not talking about inside information or anything, but actually, just observing, and then just trying to see with your eyes. It does help.
सर, आपके विनर्स की लिस्ट तो मेरे ख्याल में सारी दुनिया को पता है. आपके बहुत स्टॉक्स आपने आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं. टेलर्स की एक या दो ऐसी स्टोरी सर जहां पे आपको लगता है कि यार ये मैंने कैसे कर दिया.
अरे बहुत हैं ऐसी तो.
आई नो, बट एक दो ऐसा कैसे कर दिया.
I would rather than giving you the mistakes and stocks where we have lost money. So obviously see between 2003 to 2008 हम बहुत दबंग इन्वेस्टर्स थे, बहुत डिफरेंट इन्वेस्टर्स थे. And when I said, that time it was an open field because other investors were so scared and so myopic. उनको देखना ही नहीं था कुछ, ना कोई बैलेंस शीट पढ़ता था, ना कोई सेक्टर देखता था, ना कुछ देखता था. And we did very well. But one mistake which we made, we presumed in 2007 that capital, both equity and debt, will be available to companies forever. And then, layman happened. Both equity and debt disappeared. And obviously companies who were a little bit leveraged got royally screwed. That was a big learning. But I would say that two things which keep on haunting me are selling Bajaj Finance and Eicher Motor very early. We were early investors. When, maybe even the family was not very convinced about Bajaj Finance, we invested in Bajaj Finance. So from 400 crores market cap to, I think, around 1,000-1,500 crores market cap, we had 8-9% of the company. But क्या है ना, थोड़ा जल्दी होने का भी नुकसान है. 2009 से 11 में पैसा बनना बहुत मुश्किल था और ये कंपनी डबल ट्रिपल हो गई. मैं बोला बॉस ये पहला स्टॉक है जो 2 साल में डबल ट्रिपल हो गया. वी सोल्ड ऑफ वेरी अर्ली एंड वहां से वो 100 गुना हो गया. So I think rather than ruing about what you bought and you ended up losing, sometimes what you bought and sold too early is a bigger impact. क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, एक बार आपने लेके बेच दिया ना, फिर वो और ऊंचे भाव में लिया नहीं जाता. वो एक मेंटल रोड, तो माइंड ब्लॉक हो जाता है. पता नहीं हो, मैं बहुत ट्राई करता हूँ चेंज करने का, लेकिन नहीं होता. एक बार निकल जाता है ना शेयर, फिर वो नहीं होता, तो लिया ही नहीं जाता. The same thing happened with Eicher. We bought 10% in a block.
10% of the company.
10% of a company in a block. Within a matter of 3-6 months, it was like 70-80%. And ironically, Varinder, we sold the block to a different scheme of the same fund house who had sold us at the low level. And we were so thrilled. Wahan se bhi wo 40-50 guna ho gaya shayad. So I think these are definitely things. As far as losses are concerned, we go wrong many times. I think what pinches us is, sorry.
मेरा पूछने का मतलब क्या है ना कि सर आप जैसे लोगों की भी गलती क्यों होती है?
नहीं होती है, मैं बता रहा हूँ ना आपको, अभी भी हो रही है गलतियां, अभी नहीं ऐसा नहीं होती है. गलतियां बहुत वे में हो सकती है. एक तो आपने कोई सेक्टर पे व्यू लिया और कुछ हो गया जिससे वो सेक्टर का व्यू थोड़ा नेगेटिव हो. अभी जैसे बिफोर कोविड वी हैड अ स्मॉल स्टेक इन अ पेपर कंपनी. अभी कोविड हो गया, स्कूल बंद हो गए, कॉलेज बंद हो गए, न्यूज़पेपर बंद हो गए, मैगजीन बंद हो गए, ऑफिस बंद हो गए, तो कौन पेपर खरीदने वाला?
सही है.
Then we booked loss, but the good thing is we realized we booked loss. So that was out of something which was more environment related. We have gone wrong in a pharma company. अभी उसके API प्लांट में भी US FDA का इशू आ गया, उसके जेनेरिक प्लांट में भी US FDA का इशू आ गया. वो how do you track this कि भाई FDA का इसमें इशू हो सकता है when the history is not that bad. In fact, I remember we were large investors in Divi's lab, and Divi's had one US FDA problem and the stock fell 50% in a day. Now, when you're managing public money and you have 4-5% of your fund in a company which tanks 50%, you're dead. So sometimes you do go wrong because of external environment. And obviously you go wrong in your own analysis. कभी कभी क्या होता है, आपने आपको लगा कि भाई नहीं ऐसा होने वाला है, वैसा होने वाला है, ये होने वाला है, नहीं होता है. अभी हमारे पास होल्डिंग कंपनी के स्टॉक हैं, 3 साल में 1 पैसा नहीं बना, क्योंकि हमें लगा है यार ये 80% होल्डिंग कंपनी डिस्काउंट का 50% भी होगा तो हमारा 3 गुना पैसा हो जाएगा, लेकिन वो 80% डिस्काउंट का 90% डिस्काउंट हो गया. तो अंडरलाइंग एसेट इज डबल्ड, बट डिस्काउंट फ्रॉम 80 has become 90%. So sometimes what you think, the markets don't think that.
नहीं, बट मैं बोलूंगा सर ये तो फिर भी मैक्रो एनवायरनमेंट के कारण गलती है. बट आई हैव नॉट सीन यू गेटिंग इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय समवन एल्स, बिकॉज मेरे ख्याल में बहुत ज्यादा जो गलतियां होती हैं वो इसलिए होती हैं कि हमने किसी का सुन के ले लिया. You don't get into that camp, right?
So borrowed knowledge, I don't know how to basically put this. So obviously there are a lot of very good, very intelligent investors around you, and you do interact, and you do share thoughts, and you do get leads. But क्या होता है ना, if you, even after getting a lead, you have to yourself analyze. And I'll tell you the reason why. आपने कोई चीज 100 रुपए में ले ली, borrowed knowledge पे, और वो 80 हो गई. You don't know how to react because it's borrowed knowledge. तो आप क्या करोगे? मेरे को वरिंदर ने बोला अरे ये सुनील बहुत अच्छा शेयर है, 100 में ले लो, तो मैंने ले लिया। वरिंदर इज अ स्मार्ट गाय। अब 80 हो गया तो मैं वरिंदर से पूछूंगा अरे वरिंदर क्या हो गया बॉस, ये 80 हो गया,
हाथ खड़े कर दिए।
ये मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है। नहीं वरिंदर बोलेगा नहीं नहीं अच्छा अच्छा है, तो ऐसे होते रहता है। फिर 60 हो जाएगा तो फिर वरिंदर मेरा फोन उठाना बंद कर दे। फिर 40 में मैं वरिंदर को गाली देना चालू होता बिकॉज ये बॉरोड है। तो अगर वरिंदर ने मेरे को कोई चीज 100 में बोली भी है ना, उसने अच्छे अच्छे पर्सपेक्टिव से बोली है, इट इज माई ड्यूटी टू एटलीस्ट एनालाइज।
Yes, yes,
I
agree.
should know what are the dynamics which will make the stock price go up or go down. And therefore, we have made it a principle, irrespective of where the leads come from. जब तक internal हमने उस पर काम नहीं कर लिया, हम नहीं लेते, कुछ भी हो जाए। दूसरा एक हमने प्रिंसिपल बांध के रखा है कि जो कंपनी में रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी नहीं है, उसको दूर से ही नमस्ते करो।
सर आपने बहुत अच्छा चीज बताया था, वन टाइम कैश फ्लो पे वो पेपर कंपनीज मिल रही थी। ऐसे कुछ 2-3-4 इंडिकेटर्स हैं सर, जैसे हमने अभी आरओई का जिक्र किया?
उसके लिए 2020 में जाना पड़ेगा, अभी तो है नहीं ऐसा कुछ।
नहीं तो मोटा मोटा आपको लगे कि यार 3-4
देखो आरओई इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। आई टेल यू व्हाई। व्हाट इज आरओई? रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी और रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड, कुछ भी ले लीजिए यार, और एक साल में ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है, डजंट मैटर, बट आप 2-3 साल का साइकिल देखोगे ना। सी वी इन्वेस्ट इन अ कंपनी, वी इन्वेस्ट इन अ कंपनी where we believe that the promoter is in a business where the promoter is smart enough to generate a return more than what we will get by investing on our own in some business.
बिल्कुल सही है।
तो अगर वो 12-15% भी रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी और रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड नहीं जनरेट कर सकता है, तो फिर क्यों उसमें करें यार? हम हमारा ही कुछ कर देंगे, 8-9% तो कमा लेंगे कहाँ पे भी। So that is very important. The other thing is that as long as your return on capital employed and return on equity is more than the cost of debt, the company will never have any cash flow issue.
सही है।
Most of the biggest disaster investments are companies where return on equity becomes so low that for them to survive, they have to continuously borrow. And if you continuously borrow to fund your losses, your return on equity will never be. इसके लिए जो loss making companies है ना, मुझे नहीं पसंद है, unless there is a direction to profit. Businesses are great, you know, from a consumer perspective, from a country perspective, but from an investor perspective, I think the return on equity becomes very important. And the most other important thing to look at, Varinder, when you ask the question about what factors to look at, is cash flows. Because मारवाड़ी है, ऊपर से सीए हैं, बहुत ही घातक कॉम्बिनेशन है। ये जो है ना, वो पहले के जमाने में पड़ता सिस्टम होता। तो जो सेठ है ना, वो ये नहीं देखता था कि मेरा बुक प्रॉफिट लॉस क्या है, वो देखता था आज गल्ले में पैसा कितना आया और गल्ले से पैसा कितना गया। That is what cash flow is reflecting.
सही है।
So you know there is a difference between profit made and profit reported.
Yes.
We are interested in a company which make profit, not which report profit. हमने पुराने जमाने में देखा है, हमारे यहाँ पे सत्यम और भी कोई दूसरे बड़े एनरॉन वेनरॉन, they were reporting profit. अभी भी बहुत सारी कंपनियां ऐसी चल रही है बाजार में।
तो उसके लिए क्या सर सीएफओ टू बीटा देखना चाहिए?
मैं तो सब मीडिया वालों को बोलता हूँ, एक प्रोग्राम चालू करो, रेड अलर्ट, कि भाई ये कंपनियां में आप थोड़ा केयरफुल रहो, बट none of the media guys want to do it because they don't know how the companies will react.
Of course.
Because you know the biggest, I would say, concern which I have is अभी 7-8 करोड़ इन्वेस्टर हो गए। एक तो सबको है ना करोड़पति जल्दी बनना है, तो ऑब्वियसली दे वांट टिप्स। आपकी मेरी नहीं सुनने वाले हैं, हम जाके बोलेंगे कि 15% रिटर्न बनेगा इसमें, तो बोले पागल हो गया, 15% साल का, हमको तो 15% दिन वाला चाहिए,
दिन का चाहिए।
And then you have all this WhatsApp, SMS, Telegram group, this group, that group, Twitter, ये वो आपने बोला ना, जैसे 1 लाख एनालिस्ट हैं, तो उसमें वो सक हो रहे हैं। And there are a lot of companies also. I saw an ad of a company in the newspaper, किधर मलाड गोरेगांव में उसकी ऑफिस है, कुछ एक क्वार्टर में कुछ 4,000 करोड़ का टर्नओवर और 300 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट, पता नहीं, मानी आई डोंट नो, कभी सुना भी नहीं है। तो यू नो you don't want investors to get sucked into it. तो इसके लिए मैं बोलता हूँ बॉस कैश फ्लो देखो। कैश फ्लो में पता चल जाएगा कि कैश जनरेट किया है कि नहीं। प्रॉफिट रिपोर्ट करना तो बहुत इजी है, आपने डेटर्स में खड़ा कर दिया या आपने कोई ओवरसीज कंपनी खरीद ली और आपका हो गया, डेबिट और क्रेडिट मैच हो गया। आई थिंक बुक कीपिंग, अकाउंट से ज्यादा है ना, बुक कीपिंग बहुत जरूरी है। वरिंदर 11th में हमको बुक कीपिंग होता था, अकाउंटेंसी नहीं होता। बुक कीपिंग में 3 रूल थे। Debit what comes in, credit what goes out, debit all expenses, credit all income, debit the giver, credit the receiver. ऐसा कुछ तो भी थीम थे.
सही है.
ये बैलेंस शीट हमारी वो है ना 2 एंट्री बैलेंस शीट. तो अगर आप प्रॉफिट है जो क्रेडिट है, तो यू हैव टू हैव सम एसेट. दैट एसेट हैज टू बी कैश. वो कैश के बदले अगर डेटर्स या फिक्स्ड एसेट या कोई एक्विजिशन खड़ा हो गया तो लफड़ा है उसमें.
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, वेरी सर. हम लोग कैश फ्लो टू एबिटा एज अ रेशियो देखते हैं 70% से ऊपर हो, टू ट्रैक द कैश फ्लो की जनरेट हो रहा है कि कैश फ्लो में आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा. बट आई थिंक द पॉइंट व्हाट यू मेंशन आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर. सो जैसे आपने बात किया सर कि अभी देयर आर टू मेनी थिंग्स व्हिच आर हैपनिंग अराउंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ honestly it's a responsibility also now these days to invest in stock markets, but the way things are happening, होता ना swipe left swipe right buy sell ऐसा करो. How do you manage, because you sit at a place where everyone wants to talk to you, आपके पास सब अपने आप आते हैं, आपको कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं होता. तो how do you manage to cut the noise?
So first of all कोई अपने आप आता नहीं है. वरिंदर, जब अबैकस चालू किया है ना, कोई ब्रोकर अपना रिसर्च रिपोर्ट भी शेयर करने को तैयार नहीं था काफी जगह. अभी भी जो फॉरेन ब्रोकिंग हाउसेज है, कौन सा रूल, ये रूल वो रूल, they don't share reports, but it's fine. Even when we were at Reliance, there was first 4-5 years where they did not even service us, but बाद में then they're all, but it's fine. I think as far as the noise is concerned, I was saying that it is up to you of which noise to digest and which noise to just treat it as a noise and forget about it. The other very important thing which we have to all realize is that we cannot make money out of all stocks. तो हमको कभी कभी लगता है ये छूट गया वो छूट गया. मुझे भी बहुत गुस्सा आता है. मैं भी एनालिस्ट को बोलता हूँ, अरे क्या कर रहे हो बॉस, ये स्टॉक इतना बढ़ गया, हमने मिस कर दिया. बट इट इज प्रैक्टिकली इम्पॉसिबल to make money out of every stock which moves. And I think the sooner we realize that, the more beneficial it will be for us. The other thing is, at some point of time, we have to realize what you want to hear. So जैसे मैं आपको कह रहा था, I think we have sector analysts. So it is their job to talk to their respective sector analysts. On the trading side, who bought what, this, that, ये सब gossip आते रहता है. वो मेरा काम नहीं हो, हमारे trading deal करती रहती है. They know how to filter it and give to me a gist of it. So I think at some point of time, you also will have to plan your day in a way where you know that this is the finite number of hours you have. This is what you have to do. This is what you need to spend in of meeting companies or interacting with companies, doing your own research in a silo and so on and so forth. But I think it will be upon an individual to figure out what to digest and what to just treat it as noise.
Very true, sir. Very true. I think it's important for that. So, sir, I'll start with my last round, which will take another 2 minutes, not more than that. So, which is the rapid fire round, sir. 4-5 questions है. Request you कि अगर आप एक लाइन में या एक वर्ड में आंसर दे सके तो मजा आ जाएगा, sir. So, Sunil sir, if you were not an investor, who would you like to become?
I would maybe a traveler or a teacher.
Wow. So given a chance to go into the past, sir, is there anything one which you would like to change apart from Bajaj Finance and Eicher Motors, which you told?
I would not say that. I think the only thing maybe, I think the global canvas we missed out. See, investing across the world is the same. We have got restricted to only doing India. Or ab thoda late ho gaya. But I would say that if you would have been a little bit more alert, maybe what happened on the technology and the new age businesses, we would not have missed out if you were an investor maybe overseas also. So I would like to change that, maybe become an overseas investor much early in my life.
Very true. Best corporate, sir, who you admire, not a जिसमें आपका पैसा बना ना बना, but you think कि बहुत ये दबंग है मेरी तरह in the mid cap space.
बहुत हैं ऐसे. Again, I would not like to name anyone corporate, but I think one thing which I can tell you, Varinder, is that corporates have changed dramatically. They are much more forthcoming as far as minority shareholder interest is concerned in terms of wealth creation, getting concerned about their own perception, and I think that's a welcome change.
So I have asked you a company you regret not owning. I think Bajaj Finance and Eicher Motors will come to that space, right? A company, sir, which you are proud to have found and invested.
Again, I would not like to name, but I'll tell you my biggest joy.
Okay.
देखो अगर 10 जनों के पास वो कंपनी है और वो बढ़ जाता है ना, तो खुशी होती है क्योंकि अपने पास ही है. बट जो कंपनी सिर्फ आपके पास है और किसी के पास नहीं है, when that does well ना, that is a reinforcement that what you have thought is basically work. No support in terms of other investors.
Agree. So given a chance to ask one question to Mr. Modi ji.
Well, I stay away from politics. The only thing is, I would say if you have to ask him one question, you would say that is equity markets important to him or not? And I hope he answers in the affirmative.
A sector you would like to bet, sir, for the next 3-5 years in India?
Again, see, these sectors will keep on changing, frankly. And I would say that if I have to bet from a 3-5 years perspective, it would be the digital side of India. But I have very clear views that at this valuations, they don't make sense. But you never know. You will get an opportunity. But I think digital is the way to go forward.
India in the next 3-5 years, sir?
Always optimistic. वरिंदर 20-25 साल में जो भी पॉजिटिव रहा है ना, उसका मन भी शांत रहा है और पैसा भी बना है. ये रोज इधर हो जाएगा उधर हो जाएगा तो होते रहेगा. 200 कंट्री है दुनिया में. मैं बोलता हूँ अगर सब हर कंट्री में 200 फैक्टर है. इफ यू स्टार्ट ticking this 40,000 factors, by the time you invest, you will be 5 lakh crores in Sensex. So be positive. India is a growing country. Even in COVID, we have grown. अब तो सब जगह normalcy आ रही है. So I think 3-5 years, India will do very well.
Still, there is bubble left in the quality space, sir?
A long way to go before this bubble moves. See, Varinder, again, मुझे लोग पूछते हैं, and this is not, I'm not trying to belittle other investors. They're all very smart investors and large investors in all these companies. They've delivered billions and billions of dollars to all these investors. But as I said, when you are investing in a company, you are becoming partner in it. If you are willing to become a partner in a company which is trading at 80-90p and growing at 10%, then you should buy the stocks. Otherwise, why should you buy stock? So if a new age business which is making $1 billion of loss every year offers you the whole company at 20 billion, will you buy the whole company? If no, then why should you buy stock? Similarly, however good a company is, ultimately there has to be an upper cap of valuation. For quality, you will definitely pay a premium.
True, very true.
But what growth? Ultimately, growth will determine. और हमने देखा है बहुत सारी कंपनी इंडिया में देख लो अभी कितनी कंपनियां हैं. मेरे पास अभी 10-12 दिन पहले किसने लिस्ट भेजी थी of all the multinational companies which are trading at a 52-week low. They're all superb companies. They were blue chips. But 3-3, 4-4 साल तक sales growth is negative, profit growth is zero negative, and they are still trading at 70-80p multiple. और हमारी 5p 10p की कंपनी में एक क्वार्टर खराब होता तो उसका भाव 20% गिर जाता. तो समझ में नहीं आया था. There used to be a time when IT companies का volume growth लोग used to track. And IT services company had fallen to 14-15p. Some companies were 10-12p. Mid-cap IT companies were 7-8p.
True.
Dollar growth is 6%. मैं बोला बॉस, and volume growth is 7%. मैं बोला आपको हिंदुस्तान लीवर का volume growth पता है क्या? आपको कोलगेट का volume growth पता है क्या?
नेगेटिव
उसका volume growth कोई ट्रैक नहीं करता है. IT सर्विसेज जिसमें वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ ट्रैक करना मुश्किल है, उसका आप ट्रैक कर रहे हो. So I think these are opportunities also, but you have to have the patience. Your investors, particularly when you are dealing with public money, your investors have to have patience. साल 2 साल रिटर्न नहीं बना, and then also they have confidence. I think that is what you need for you to be a good long-term investor.
सर अभी भी मुझे याद है आपने अक्टूबर 2019 में ये जो पेपर निकाला था, द बिग कॉल बबल इन क्वालिटी, एंड आई थिंक यू वर द ओनली वन जो ओपनली बोला था. पहले कभी कोई बोलता नहीं था. और आपने मेरे ख्याल में लिखा था कि जो सारी की सारी लिस्टेड कंपनीज हैं 1000 करोड़ के ऊपर, आयरन एंड स्टील, मेरे ख्याल सीमेंट, मेटल, और आपने एचयूएल और नेस्ले के साथ कंपेयर किया था. मार्वेलस पीस.
See, what you can explain in 2 pages is the most effective. If you're not able to put forward your views in 2 pages, तो आप 200 पेज लिख लो, उसमें वो व्यू आगे नहीं जाएगा.
सही है. Last thing, sir, what does Sunil sir wants to learn in the next few years on your personal side, forget about the stock markets, because आप हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ नया सीखते रहते हो, करते
अरे
रहते हो.
अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्या है ना, मैं ज्यादा दिन तक फोकस्ड नहीं रहता. तो आई यूज्ड टू लर्न गिटार व्हेन आई वाज इन स्कूल. फिर 20-25 साल छोड़ दिया जब सीए करने लग गया. अभी कोविड में मौका मिला, फिर 3-6 महीना सीखा. फिर अपने सुबह 8 to 5, 8 to 6 चालू हो गया, फिर बंद हो गया. बट ठीक है, यू नो, इन बिटवीन आई लर्न फोटोग्राफी, इन बिटवीन आई लर्न दिस दैट. मेरा एक ही है वरिंदर, one should be busy, you know, one should be, I would say, good to others, and one should, you know, I'm not saying that enjoy in a different manner, but one should have something going on apart from work, you know.
Sir, okay, you know, आप मेरे लिए you're an epitome, you know, of a lot of things in life जो मुझे रोज नया नया सीखता हूँ. I can't even thank you enough जो आपने इतना टाइम आज हमारे लिए, ओमकारा के लिए और सबके लिए. Okay, it's not only me, but lot of people who will actually learn, you know, not only basics of investing, but basics of life also from you. Thank you, sir, for teaching us every single day. मजा आ गया sir आज.
A pleasure. Thanks a lot, and best wishes to you and your team, and best wishes to all your fans. And I know there are lakhs and lakhs of it. Only one advice is content row or long term socho.
सही है सर. थैंक यू सर, सुनील सर. थैंक यू, और आपको भी और सबको, घर वालों को भी
बहुत धन्यवाद.
थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन. थैंक यू.